ready? For me, okay. Welcome to the first BZA meeting of this year with Washington County Board of Zoning Appeals. We have one matter before us, but before we do that, as a matter of law, we have to, the first meeting we hold of the year, we have to elect a chair and a vice chair to conduct the meeting with. Make a motion, we keep the same chair and vice chair as we had last year. Who's the vice chair? Are you the vice chair?
I was thinking Danielle was, but maybe not, so.
It's got to be a member from us, board president.
That could have been me.
Okay. Everybody want to?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Everybody in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Motion carries. We're going to go ahead and carry on. I'm going to carry on out the duties as chair. The ordinance that we're having in front of us, that we're actually, the appeal process is for a site distance for the driveway for this proposed business. And it has nothing to do with whether you want the business in there or don't want the business in there or anything else. It's just strictly the county has passed a new standard of 200 foot from a, let me read that. A minimum of 200 feet site distance is required both directions from any entrance along the public road or within the subdivision. Minimum of 300 feet site distance is required on both directions for the entrance of the subdivision on businesses, industries, or private drives located near the intersection of any road, street, or highway. And the request is
Max also, section of that ordinance is no entrance shall be located, within 300 feet of an intersection of a public roadway.
okay. That's the gist of what they're after. What the request for variance is to allow a driveway to be placed at less than that distance. At this time, the petitioner, would they like to step forward? They'll have 15 minutes to explain why they feel we should not adhere to our strict standards. And then after that, the people who signed up to speak, you'll be given 3 minutes per person, or 10 minutes if you're going to combine your theme of what you had to say on the matter. And then we'll allow for a rebuttal if necessary by the petitioner to explain why he thinks that whatever was said was right or wrong. Anybody addressing this board is to address this board, not another individual. And I'd like to go ahead and start off with the petition.
Thank you. My name is Ty Eshman. I represent, I actually work for Champlin and Associates, but I represent the Overland Group tonight. They're the proposed.
There's a microphone over here.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're talking to the microphone, that would be awesome.
All right. I represent the developer that has requested this variance, at least tonight. Basically, they have proposed to put their entrance as far north of the intersection of those two roads as possible, which from the center line of their proposed entrance to the center line of Edgar is about 150 feet, which obviously does not meet the ordinance. However, a traffic impact study, which is required by the Department of Transportation, was completed in January of this year. It warrants, the traffic study warrants no new turn lanes, no safety issues, and requires no additional info at this point, at least for DOT, to approve an entrance of this sort. The reason that they want to put it as far north as they can, obviously, is for the truck that they use to unload the items. About the only way that truck can get in there, and they will not back in, they don't back in. That truck will pull in as far as he possibly can to the very end of the parking lot, and then he backs up to the door, the warehouse, or the unloading door. And then that way he can pull out the same way in fashion that he does not back up on any public road. The other issue, and the reason for the request, moving it where they have it, and I'm assuming that you guys have seen this location. If they move it, they've moved it as far north as they can to also allow for the site triangle for the state route there, and it does not interfere with that site triangle either. So that alleviates the safety concern there. The biggest issue with this site is if this entrance is not allowed, that site is basically landlocked. There's nothing else that can be done with that site. If an entrance is not allowed to go in, basically anywhere on that site along the north-south road, that site is unusable. There is no way to meet the county's requirement, whether it be this proposed development or any proposed developer. There is no way to meet the county's requirement for an entrance at that site without a variance. So whether it be us or somebody else, no matter what, they would have to come before this board and ask for a variance. There is not enough room. The frontage of that parcel is too short. And there's not enough frontage room to accommodate the county's ordinance.
There is I'm gonna ask, is there easement to that property right now? Is there a culvert and driveway that allows access to that property now?
I believe there is, but it's very, there's no way they could use it, let me put it that way. I'm assuming that you're asking from the standpoint of could they stay where the existing one is, and the answer is no. It would have to be completely improved, not to mention moving it further south to where the existing one is now, moving their entrance south where the existing one is now would cause more safety concerns, and the truck would have a harder time getting in and out at that location because of the intersection of the road going east there.
So you don't think there's any way that site could have been improved, that site location that's already could be expanded or improved to accommodate?
No, the frontage on that site, I believe, is only 223 feet. So it would be impossible, no matter what, with 223 feet of foot frontage to accommodate any entrance, that would meet the county zoning ordinance.
Not even an existing entrance, is that the?
Correct. That's correct. The existing entrance itself, at this point, would be in violation of the county ordinance.
All right, yeah.
And while I have 15 minutes, I promise you I'm not gonna take.
Well, you have it, and then anything else you need to add, or?
I do not.
Clarify with, that's the purpose.
I do not, at this point, my biggest point is, no matter what, unless this is approved, as I said, whether it be for us or for somebody else down the road, a variance will have to be granted, or this piece of property is completely undeveloped, not developed. So, you know, we come before you tonight in hopes that, you know, we can do that, and develop that site. And that's just what we're asking for tonight. So I will not take any more of your time. I am happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Russell, is it Esselman?
Eshelman, yep.
Eshelman?
Yes, sir.
If you've got a card, I'd be glad.
Yeah, absolutely.
One, the question, you mentioned there was an NDOT traffic study.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that can provide, to the Board of Zoning Appeals at some point?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, if any or all of you give me your email addresses, or I can email it to Travis and he can distribute it. I have a copy of it right here.
I
So
think that would be
I'm happy to provide that.
requested. Is that okay with you, Mr. Chairman?
Any of the board have any other questions for clarification?
I think the only question I had was, so are you saying that there is no way any entrance can be made off of the state road?
That is correct.
Has that been applied for?
I
Has
believe-
that been exhausted?
I believe that has been addressed and exhausted.
Can we get a copy of that or find out information on that?
I will be more than happy to have the developer send you that information, if so, yes.
Was the prior use, and if I ask about prior use, he may not know that, do I address that to him?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not.
What was the prior use of this property? Does anybody know? Does Travis know?
Residential.
Was there a house there?
There was a mobile home that used to be on it, and there's one parked on it right now.
And the current driveway is 320 feet from the intersection, from the highway.
So there's, this question, there's no way, if you use the one that's in the back, to go behind, to have a road behind the building that would loop around it?
I don't believe so, and not to mention the fact that it would be extremely cost prohibitive.
I'm just looking at that, I know that there's not a lot of space there, but it just looks like course, you would still need an exit if you came through there and tried to drive the truck around the building.
Yeah, then you would,
You'd still have to exit.
then in essence, you would have to, we would be asking for two entrances.
Yeah.
And while the existing entrance, which is, I'm gonna say not really improved, might be 320 feet south of the intersection, that would be fine, except, the frontage of that lot doesn't go all the way to the intersection of that road, so you can't account for the site triangle that's taken out of that piece.
Where's the edge of the road at again, from the highway, 320 feet?
I believe, to the existing.
From the intersection where the highway department measures
Yep.
to the existing entrance is 320 feet. We've measured, and the numbers you're looking at here, to allow a 50-foot entrance, you would have 200 feet separation with the new entrance from 56, and you'd be left with 150 foot from Egger. So you're looking at 200 on one end and 150 on the other end. So one's cut in half and one's nearly cut in half.
And that existing entrance is in no way, shape, or form designed to handle the traffic.
No, it is only useful as a residential
Yeah.
entrance. In no way is it useful, but I'm just using that as an example of why it's there and the measurement, and it was grandfathered in before the intersection separation because it is straight across from Egger Road, basically.
So when a truck comes in, they're turning off at 56, is it a full semis that delivered there, or?
Typically not, they are, I won't say it will never be a semi, because that may not be true. There may be a day when it is. Most of the time, it's the bigger box trucks that are doing the deliveries.
I've not seen it.
But, again, the site is designed so that semi pulls in. Basically, his nose will go the nose of the cab will go all the way to the end of the parking lot. He will back into the area where the trash containers are, which is where they unload. And then he will drive out.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask you next, how the truck turnaround is gonna be.
Yep. And they have to run, in any development, in any development like this, they have to run an auto turn, it's called, to make sure that it can accommodate any size truck, including a fire truck, to get in there and get out, so.
So is the width of the old Highway 56 accommodating to the larger loads that's going to be going over that east side in order to enter and exit? And then again, it may not be for him to say.
I honestly can't speak to the state route or the state county roads. All I can speak to is the entrance will be built to obviously withstand that traffic and that weight.
I
As
just
far as,
wondered if this is going to, if this is going to, open a can of worms of having to, and I don't mean a can of worms, but for future expansion of the road or, to reinforce the roadway or anything. I don't know the current condition, the width or anything.
If I may?
Yeah.
Usually the way it affects the county roads, the narrower the road, the wider the entrance you need. And in this case, I'm estimating on the minimum of 50 feet entrance, and that's where we get our 200 and 150 foot separation. Now, if they do want to go for the larger trucks for a longer culvert, let's say you put in a 100-foot opening there, your separations just got cut down again. And people are always going to go the shortest route. So if you make a 100-foot entrance and knock that 200 down to, 100, now you're looking at a 100-foot separation.
You knew what I was trying to ask.
Does anybody know how the original number of feet was proposed by the county, by the plan commission? Was it a plan or something that we got from another county and we just implemented those numbers, or did they specifically?
It was extensively studied,
Okay.
commented upon, reviewed.
You might, Superintendent Boyle's that question, he could probably answer as well as anyone.
We went through this a couple years back and sort of streamlined it. The requirements were actually more extensive than what they are now, but there was a problem with realistically enforcing them. So we had a meeting and agreed upon the numbers that in the real world we could realistically enforce, and these are the numbers we agreed upon. It's actually a lot more lenient now than it was a few years back.
I want to ask Rick if, he thinks there's no way this driveway at the end of the property could be utilized to meet the requirements for, because you could take a semi down the gravel road, turn left instead of right.
If you crowded the driveway completely to the south, completely in front of Egger Road, just ignore the fact that there's even an intersection there, you're still short of your 300 foot. So there's no way you can get it down to one violation. There's going to be 2 violations there regardless of what you do. Usually what we do, in an instance we inspect a driveway, we'll have them cut down a bank, we'll have them cut a tree, we'll move it 30 or 40 feet, and we can finally come on some common ground to where we can make it pass. And this one just falls in an area, there's just not enough room. If we want to keep the expectations, we put out a couple years ago, we were looking for the future, like 20 years, what these intersections are going to look like. I mean, look across the road there at Cotton Gims. You've got Morgan's, you've got Cotton Gims, you've got a daycare, and we were trying to solve how we can keep that from happening at every intersection.
Thank you. we're done for now. We'll get public comment, we'll let you come back and give us any information that you find to be, need corrected or clarified.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Terry Cotton Gin.
Well, I could stay up there a little longer than 3 minutes because there's a chair, I can sit down. I'm Terry Cottingham. I'm the property owner to the south and also across the road on 56. I guess I haven't seen any site drawings. I don't know what the layout is. My major concern is runoff, which is created by the parking lot and the entrance and everything else. When we get rains, that ditch down through there that I put riprap in and put a liner in and all, you can canoe down that thing. And there's several neighbors here that are on downstream from me, and the water, gets to rolling. I don't know, I assume they're doing a culvert across there, catching part of the water, but there's an immense amount of water around there, and with us putting in more pavement and more entrance, that's going to increase the water flow down through there. I don't care where you put the entrance, that problem still happens. So my major concern is runoff, which again is relative to the entrance and how they're handling the water and off the parking lot and those items. So, the only positive thing is I'm getting old enough, I might want to put a fruit stand next to it and have a lot more traffic. So that's my thoughts. Just run. Parking and however the drives and all that.
Appreciate your comments.
All right.
Caitlin Cotton Gin.
At this time, I have nothing to say in regards to the driveway.
Thomas White or?
My name's Travis White. I'm a property owner and a business owner across the street. We're the ones that own the daycare. My big concern is they're trying to occupy a small piece of property with a big business. If you go with Terry Cottingham's business, you got heavy equipment, you got my wife's daycare, you got the gas station on the north side of the road. With introducing so much more traffic with this business going on the south side of the road, there's already several accidents there every year. So that was my biggest concern, was just the control of traffic. They said they've done all these traffic studies, and there's already bad accidents. And on top of the other businesses, there's 2 auto body shops down the road. So that is probably the biggest concern of ours. And just the fact that we've got plenty of traffic on that road anyway. And you're picking the busiest intersection of all, State Road 56, and putting it all in one area. And that's my main concern.
Thank you. Ryan Woodward.
My concerns have been addressed as well.
Okay. Gary Brown.
Yeah, I thought this was gonna be a meeting where we could object whether they even built the place or not. Evidently I was wrong. I guess you already made up your mind. The only purpose of the meeting is with respect to whether a variance would be granted. Yeah, I understand. For the driveway. I understand. It's not a meeting about. Well, when are you gonna have that meeting? Well, I don't know if there will be. Probably not.
If they can't build the driveway, they can't build the.
Well, that'd be okay if they cancel the driveway, but I think the majority of these people here don't even want it.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
That's why we're here.
that's why a lot of them's here. So you can think about that.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Holly Morgan.
Hi, I'm new to the county, but I did grow up here.
You can come down to the speak microphone.
Hi, most of my concerns have already been addressed as well, but I just want to reiterate, this is already a very dangerous intersection. I live a mile down the road and I drive through here every day, and it's difficult. There are many accidents there. You're talking about putting another entrance that would be heavily trafficked into a very small area off of a very old state highway that has a large turn there. I can't imagine how this could be done safely. My second big concern is the water quality of the creek that lies down there. It's a major creek. There's gonna be a lot of runoff. There already is a lot of runoff. And I, again, can't see how this would improve that situation. It seems to me like the person who was speaking for the company that wants to make this made a really good case that this is not a good site for a Dollar General store. It's just not large enough. There's not enough distance between it and the state highway. I mean, he laid it all out for us. It's simply not a large enough property for what they wanna do and what their trucks, demand for, being able to navigate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Byers. I apologize for reading.
It's probably Barbara Bain.
Oh, ma'am, thank you.
I think you can probably hear me. I own a farming operation on borders on Edward Road, and I cannot understand how a semi-truck is gonna come all the way down and meet my heavy farm equipment going into Edward Road. It just isn't a situation that would be good. I'm very much in favor of keeping farmland. I mean, we all wanna eat in the next few years, and so I want that land to be farmed. And I don't really need a semi-truck leading farm equipment coming down that road. It's not set up for it, it's a bad intersection, and it just is not a good situation to have it there. The road evidently would be across from Edgar Road, we would be making turns there. It's not a situation that I see as viable.
Thank you. Wayne Roach.
Well, my name is Dwayne Roach. Mr. Esselman is representing the developer that parcel of land, and I've lived across from where he's wanting to develop that parcel for 35 years. It's my understanding that the trucks would never be on the county highway. They would be straight off of 56, which would be directly across from my driveway. Throughout the years, that highway has just, the traffic is just, it grows exponentially on it. It's all I can do to go get the mail anymore, to cross the highway to get my mailbox. So I can only imagine with a business right across from my driveway, what that traffic situation is gonna be like. He stated that he had done an NDOT traffic study, but he showed no proof. So, if I'm representing a developer, I think I would have had my paperwork in hand just to prove that point at that time. By Mr. Boyle's admission, we had a standard, and they have actually watered it down through the years to meet this. And, the developer purchases pieces of property, and he can't even meet any of the basic requirements of that property for his entrance. So, and then he's asking for a variance on top of that. So, at what point do we keep watering down our standards when he can't meet them? So my concern is you have this piece of property that is, it's in the corner of a county highway and a state highway, and you're trying to fit 10 gallons worth of stuff in a 5-gallon pail, and it's not gonna work. Just as my neighbor Travis White had stated, there's been several bad accidents at that intersection in which the last couple required staff flight. And it's crazy because it's a straight shot through there, and you would think how could that be? And it's always in broad daylight, but, you know, people don't stop. So what's the next? Is the county or state gonna, will they be up for installing a traffic light there? You know, because of all the congestion and everything that this would create. You know, I just think, I'm not against a Dollar General store, but I think that location is not ideal for anybody. Any of the neighbors of it, and for the store itself, you're gonna have a lot going on in a little piece of property right there. And on top of that, by the time you put a store on that property and the pave and the parking lot, you know, what do you do with septic then? Do you bury it under the parking lot? So, you know, there's a lot of different issues to address there. That parcel of land is not just flat and level. So, you know, it just seems to me that where they're wanting to put it is not the ideal spot, and it will create more hazards than not. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
That's all we have. Is anybody else wish to speak? To be on the list? I've completed the list. I need to ask Mr. Esselman to come back up. Oh, we have another.
My name's Shelley Single, and I am also a property owner. I grew up in that area and lived there till I was 20, and then I moved back out there and I've lived there almost another 30 years. And I know what he said about the traffic study, but you know, I know for a fact there's been many accidents there, besides just being the highway where it's the speed limit is normal. There's passing lanes, which I think creates additional hazard. So the traffic is one of my main concerns. And most of my concerns have been addressed by others. I just wanted to say that I respect the fact that you have put these ordinances in place that should be complied with when considering putting in businesses. You put them there for a reason, and I don't see any reason why it should be a variance granted under these circumstances. I hope that you will stick to the ordinances that you have in place.
Thank you.
Thank you. To alleviate one concern, that is a signed and sealed traffic study by an Indiana registered professional engineer that I will provide.
Can we know the name of the engineer that did the study?
Yeah, sure. His name is Dan Draper. He actually is a former IDOT, Illinois guy, but he's licensed in Indiana as well.
So he's not an Indiana Department of Transportation employee?
He is not.
He's just a contractor then?
Correct.
Correct. So it's not an Indiana Department of State, it's not an NDOT traffic study,
It has to be done through NDOT standards.
but he's a third party
Correct.
that you pay for.
Correct.
Correct.
Regardless of the
Mr.
study, there's
Folks,
still been.
This is Mr. Ashland.
Thank you. The concern over the traffic study, I understand, and I do, and believe me, I don't want anybody getting hurt. The developer does not want anybody getting hurt. That's part of the reason that we do these traffic studies. I know that safety is a concern. And I appreciate all the folks here. I know they're local, and I know they have the history. All I can do is what we're required to do, and that is complete the traffic study, traffic impact study, based on the Indiana Department of Transportation requirements, which we've done. And according to the NDOT standards, it requires nothing at that intersection. There's nothing that will need to be done at that intersection. The only thing that it will require is a stop sign at the entrance of the Dollar General. There has to be a stop sign, so people stop before they get out onto the county road. That's it. That is the only requirement. Other than that, there are other things that were addressed. I'm not going to opine on those. That's not what we're here for. The site is designed to handle the water that's currently there. It is actually unlawful to put that water downstream on anybody.
I have a question on that. I mean, did it pass the Rule 5 from the Soil and Water Conservation, that you have to apply when you're disturbing ground and have the,
Yeah, it'll have to,
it has to be, maybe it hasn't been done yet, but I know you have to.
right, so
Take that.
you don't want to put the cart before the horse here. This is, and I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the step ones. If this committee does not approve this entrance, this site is dead. So we're not going to, put a lot of time moving forward, if we don't need it. So really, this is step number one.
Just wanted to ask.
Question.
Can I ask him a question?
You need to address the board with your questions, but
Okay, I'm Melinda Hobson, and I live out in that area and support Morgan's Market, and everything. I'm just curious as to why they decided to put it there. I mean, you go out towards Campbellsburg, which is where I'm from, there's nothing out that way for those people, at all. And so I was just curious as to why it was decided to put it straight across from Morgan's Market, basically.
I don't know that business for somebody else to worry about. That's not the purview of the zoning board itself. Anyway, have you got any anything else you wanna, before we?
I do not, just to reiterate that, I do appreciate your time. I appreciate you hearing this.
We've got it.
Yes, I have a question about the traffic study, and I realize you haven't had a chance to look at it. But I want to know if the traffic study includes the amount of Amish traffic that is in the area, as well as the farm equipment traffic, as well well as the semis and the cars. I wanna make sure those are all addressed, because they are all there.
And I'm happy to speak to that. If the Amish traffic, if the farm implementation is, required by the NDOT standards, then yes, it has been addressed.
Who's the last person that asked the question? What's your name?
Oh, my name is Julie Morgan.
Judy. You got anything else?
I got one more question.
Sure.
So when the, company that you hired to, that did the study through NDOT, I mean, what do they say in there about the danger? I mean, how is it addressed? Is it considered conducive to creating more accidents? It's just kind of or is it, what level of danger does it increase, I guess? I mean, without looking at the report, it's just hard to, are they just saying, we're giving you a green light, because it meets the state requirements? But what does it really say about addressing all the dangers that the people here have brought up?
They're at the, I won't say at the end of the traffic study, because it's not, it's a almost 50-page document. But on about page 7 or 8, there's a findings and conclusions, which I am happy to share with you. Based upon the preceding discussion, the following may be concluded regarding the traffic impact of the proposed development. 1, each approach at existing intersection of SR 56 and Old Highway 56 currently operates with acceptable levels of service, LOS, C or better during peak hours. Number 2,
C or better.
that's just IDOT has specific levels. This C is, C would be more than the requirement for that area. The proposed development is expected to generate a total of 32 and 71 trips during the AM and PM peak hours, respectively. A portion of these trips would be drawn from the background traffic volume, so traffic that is already there. So as far as new traffic, you're talking about 21 cars in the morning and 47 cars in the afternoon. That's how this is determined. The projected volumes indicate a westbound left turn lane is not warranted, nor is a northbound left turn lane warranted. The projected volumes indicate that a southbound right turn lane is not warranted at the site entrance, and that right turn lanes are already present at SR 56 and Old Highway 56. Those are the basic findings of the study. Like I said, that's about a 50-page document that spells out they are included in this study, every NDOT standard that has to be met and or has to be addressed in this document. It is there, and the conclusions are the way it is okay.
I do have one question. So it doesn't say that there would be any need for expansion of the shoulder?
Nope.
For a slowdown period of a semi coming through there or anything?
No.
To be honest, the study was done in January.
And we don't plant and harvest in January.
Understood.
Not many
I just like to reiterate on the local everyday traffic. The turn lane, you could say is more of a passing lane, because at any time anybody goes to turn left at Morgan's Market, cars come up the highway, they just fly through the turn lane and they shoot straight on through.
There are no areas.
It works both ways, and I would think that there's more than 47 vehicles in an hour at any time goes up and down that highway. We've lived out there 20 years ourselves, and it's seen numerous accidents, and it's just, as I said, you know, people use that turning lanes as passing lanes. And that's anywhere in the county that you have it, anywhere in the country, you have turning lanes, people fly right on
It's on
through.
both sides of the intersection like that.
So that's a big safety concern. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
One more question, what's,
Just a quick statement. My name is Ethan Woodward, if you put it on there.
You're gonna have to come up front, because we can't hear you, and you need to kind of. And
The
this
only
might be
statement I
last
have, the
person.
study was done in January.
This pretend you're at the House of Representatives of the Senate. You got a nice microphone.
your name?
The study was done in January. It's not gonna account for any summer traffic, ATVs, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, motorcycles. And they all travel up and down those highways. Middle of January, none of them's out. They come down through the highway there, a lot of them go to Morgan's to fuel up. There's plenty of dirt bikes, you know, that sort of traffic down through there that was not really accounted for in the study. That's all I have to say.
If I ain't no further questions. Time to come to the vote. If you made up your mind on what you've, from what you've heard, whether you think we should, adhere to our standards or go ahead and give the variance, for this, project to vary from the standards that we just set forth. This, particular piece of land still can be used, but maybe just not for this purpose or this specific project, is, my belief. I'm gonna vote, that we not give a variance. But I want an individual vote for everybody. What's your opinion for a vote?
I agree on the notes that I've taken, that it doesn't, doesn't really, well, it goes against our ordinances, like the person has already shared, and, they're having confidence in our ordinances and, our current, restrictions. So even with that being said, why would we change up, in the middle of the road, so.
So that's a no?
Yeah. That's a no.
Lauren?
I've got some concerns, number one, of not seeing the NDOT study. I have to admit, I am dumb on how those studies are completed and what kind of information that they compile in order to come up with those, and not having it. I can't really retort on that other than I have some concerns about that. I do have some concerns of the traffic, just like, so at this point, I don't know. No modification plan.
I may be the only one for, I'm sorry, I just think economic development, I think, I don't know. I mean, you have to have some faith in the state, I would think that they thought it was a dangerous situation, that, they would put a stop to it. I think there's a lot of emotion, but, anywhere you put in a kind of establishment on the highway, yes, it's going to increase the potential for accidents, there's just no doubt in my mind. But you can't stop economic development either for your county, just because it increases the risk. I didn't see anything that was, that I feel that would be, I would change my mind on that, so I would be the only one voting for it, so.
Matt, sir, should ask for a motion one way or the other.
Gonna ask for a motion that we, deny this variance. And, all in favor of denial? Aye. Three, to deny and one in favor.